And it's good morning to the Gelding as we turn to Moonee Valley in the Spring Carnival warming up, and it's Cox Plate Day, so all eyes will be on the Valley.
Yes, good morning, Professor. Good morning, listeners. Yes, big day racing today. Excuse me, Professor. The Group 1 Cox Plate. So, yeah, an interesting race, Professor, as we'll cover later on during this podcast.
Yeah, well, we better get into it, Gelding. But the first, I was listening to Gay Waterhouse yesterday on 3RW's Wide World of Sport. She made some very interesting comments about the Spring Carnival and racing, and seemed to echo our thoughts, Gelding. Her takeaways from yesterday was we should be educating young people about horse racing.
No,
they're
get whacked.
They're there for the wrong reasons, just to party. And where will they be in a couple of weeks' time?
Yes.
Not at the races. And so we need to be getting those people to sign up as members, so they're more interested in turning up during the year. And also, guess what, Gelding? She says racing's too expensive for the general public. She must listen to this program, Gelding.
She may be a number one listener, Professor. Hey?
Oh, Gelding, I was listening to it and I thought, well, she was just parroting all the things that we say. So why aren't the racing clubs and the overarching bodies listening to what we're talking about?
Why would you listen to someone, the number one woman, who has broken down that many barriers, who has been probably the best PR machine for horse racing in her, and I'm sure she wouldn't mind me mentioning, she is 60 years of age. She's been brought up in horse racing from when she was born. She was with royalty with her dad, with Tommy Smith. And she's just gone through racing all these things. So she sees this year in, year out. Now, of course, she's in the business of training horses. So she's looking for racing followers to purchase horses with her or shares in horses with her. And what she's seeing is, and the Everest was fantastic last week, but they showed a shot of the lawn, and all it was people holding up cans of drinks in suits to the camera as they sang Sweet Caroline. I don't know what that's got to do with racing, Professor, but fantastic atmosphere, fantastic concept. But racing clubs... Oh, sorry, Professor. The AJC made an absolute fortune on the weekend. They met 50,000 people. The Landers will say it was an outstanding success. He had 50,000 people there, paying probably $11 for a can of beer. So anyway, if that's racing to be, Professor, I'll be watching him on TV for a while.
Yeah, I think so, Gelding. I'm in the same boat as you. All right, races at Moonee Valley. It's a 10-race card, Gelding. The first is at 12:10 p.m, the last at 5:50 p.m, so just in time for the news. The feature race, of course, race 9, the Cox Plate, a Group 1 race for 3-year-olds and above, over 2,040 metres, and the 40 metres might be very, very important today, Gelding.
Yes, Professor. I apologise for the noise in the background. All of a sudden, one of our neighbours has decided to do a bit of work on their house. They haven't done anything for 3 months, but today, with a bit of sun, they've all of a sudden come out.
The track's a good 4, Gelding. The rail's in the true position. The only thing I'm worried about is, Gelding, that they had 8 races there last night and the rail was in the same position.
Yeah, look, Professor, I think they're lucky this year. No rain on the Friday night. Previously, we've had a lot of rain on the Friday night meetings, which cut up the surface. Hopefully, it raced very well last night, and hopefully it can continue on today, Professor. But look, let's have a look at the Cox Plate first of all, and we always have to have a bet in the main race, Professor. And I will say good morning to one of our listeners, Freddie Hogan, who is most interested to hear what we like today. So good morning to Brett and our listeners. But look, the Cox Plate, Professor, any of these horses can win. I've had a look. We don't know the form of the overseas horses. Prognosis, a Japanese horse. Fantastic record up against Romantic Warrior. If it runs to its best, will be very hard to beat. However, there is a doubt that this is a horse that sometimes misses the start. Now, if it misses the start today, it may be a bit hard to make up around Moonee Valley, which is a tight turning track. So, may have to come wide. The English horse, Docklands, we don't know much about, but has got good Group 1 form over in England. So they're the unknowns, Professor. I would say if you're getting a strategy, either forget them or just back them both. So I've gone the way. I've looked for horses with form around the valley. That's Mr. Brightside, Pride of Jenny, and Evaporate. I've decided to go Pride of Jenny, Professor, because I know where that horse will be when they come round that final turn. It'll be in front, and horses will be chasing it. Now, how far in front will be the unknown. It was beaten last start in Sydney, Professor. I think my thoughts on that race. I thought the jockey of Major Beale certainly inconvenienced Pride of Jenny. In fact, it's only my opinion, Professor. I thought it was actually foul riding and the jockey should have been suspended for 3 to 6 months. But the owner of Pride of Jenny went to the stewards and made a complaint about the tactics used against Pride of Jenny, which the stewards surprisingly did nothing about. And I just wonder, Professor, whether if that had been a horse like Winks and Winks got beaten up there in Sydney, whether it would have been the same outcome. But that is for another show.
Just speculate. We can speculate, Gelding, but it's not going to change the result, is it? Unfortunately.
No. So look, we're getting over $5 for Pride of Jenny at the moment, Professor. So that'll do me. It's got good form around Moonee Valley. 2 starts for a win and a second. So we know it'll handle the track. We know where it'll be during the running. So my first tip will be race 9, number 6, Pride of Jenny. The Mars stable on fire, Professor. At the moment, last week winning the Everest, the Caulfield Cup, and running second in the King Charles. I just think they just know what they're doing. 2,040 metres, Pride of Jenny, maybe right up her alley. I'll then go race 10, horse 6, Firestorm, Professor, to be ridden by Damien Lane, a Waller-trained horse. This horse has just been in pretty good form, Professor. So if I can just turn my page, we have a look at Firestorm. You had 16 starts for 4 wins. A bit disappointing last time, Professor, in the Group 1 over a mile in the Doncaster, the Epsom show. So we'll give that a miss. Before that, won 2 races in a row. Back down in class from the Group 1, Professor. So we will go race 10, number 6, Firestorm. And you like?
Yeah, Gelding, I'm going a little bit earlier than you. Race 2, the Red Anchor. Surprising?
Yeah.
Well, even more surprising, Gelding, I haven't got a selection in race 1. I've gone for race 2.
Oh, I'm sure you'd have one there, Professor.
Yeah, I've
You're
got one.
You're just looking after me, aren't you?
Well, just give me a little bit of extra time to get down to the TAB, Gelding.
Beautiful.
So race 2, the Red Anchor Stakes. It's a Group 3 race for 3-year-olds over 1,200 metres. I like in this race the Gay Waterhouse trained number 5, Ikasara, coming out of barrier 2, Gelding. 3 starts for a win and a placing, so a 33% win rate, a 67% place rate. Now, Gelding, horse hasn't run at Moonee Valley before, but one thing I like about it, And as you said about Pride of Jenny, and that's why I've selected the horse in this race, when it comes to the turn, Gelding, on form, this horse will be leading around the bend. And I like the horse to be in front at that short Moonee Valley straight. Its last start with a fourth in the Group 2, the Roman Consult Stakes, Gelding. It was beaten 3 lengths by the Waller-trained Switzerland. Now, Switzerland is running the Golden Slipper and the Run to the Roses, so it's a quality horse that beat it. Jordan Childs in the saddle. He's in career form, 14% over the last 50. Gay Waterhouse, 19% win rate over her career, which is excellent for a trainer. What also I like, Gelding, for a place, 45%. So almost 1 in 2 horses she puts out on the racetrack come home with a place. So that'll do us to lead off the parlays and GM racing for this morning.
Professor, I like it. I like your tip. This was going to be one of my tips as well, but you beat me to it. 3 starts. Second at the turn when it won in Sydney at Rose Hill. Then third when it led at the turn, and fourth into a Group 2, only beaten 3 lengths, Professor. But as you said, Switzerland won that pretty easy. Coolmore were talking about entering Switzerland into the Everest. Yeah. And the horse that ran second in the race, Coleman, is a horse that ran second in the Golden Slipper. So that's excellent form for 3 runs, Professor, I would have thought.
Well, and especially, Gelding, you can currently get $3.50 and $1.95. It won't start at $3.50, so anybody who wants to get on might like to get on now.
Yes, Professor, and a very small field. So, yeah, I do like your tip in this race.
All right, my second selection, Gelding, race 7, the McEwen Stakes, a Group 2 over 1,200 metres. Looking this one, Gelding, horse number 8, Barracool. We've been on it before, coming out of barrier 5. It's had 7 starts for a very impressive 5 wins and 2 placings. So a 71% win rate, 100% place rate. There's some figures that we do like when we're selecting horses, Gelding. It's a 6-year-old Snitzel, Gelding. So we've got a Snitzel.
We got a Snitzel.
Yeah, we got the full Snitzel today.
We got the full Snitzel.
Yeah.
Not the Seamus Award, not the half Snitzel.
Yeah, Gelding, the other thing I like, it's got good valley form, this horse. It beat War Machine last start over the same distance. Now, War Machine went on to run third in the Group 3 Silver Eagle last week. So that just stamps the form, I think. Benny Allen in the saddle. He's got a 12% career riding win rate, trained by Leo and Troy Corstens and Will Larkin. They've got a 12% win rate as trainers. You can get $4 and $1.60, Gelding, and I think that might start a little bit longer than $4, so I probably wouldn't take the $4 now. You might get $5.50 starting price.
Yeah, very good racehorse, Professor. Barracuda, and as you said, one we've been on before. Some good up against some good horses, though, Professor.
Oh yeah, Gelding.
This time, so horses with higher ratings in it, but apparently worked very, very well out of breakfast with the Stars on Tuesday, Professor.
Well, yes, and you thought that number 2 might also be in the finish, Gelding.
Oh, it's got to be right up there, Oscar's Fortune. So, yeah, Professor, might be a nice little quinelle of that, I think.
All right, so my 2 for today, Gelding. Race 2, horse 5, Ikasara. Race 7, horse 8, Barracool. Now we'll turn to the Professor's parlay and...
Before you do that, Professor, just quickly.
Yes, Gelding.
What do you like in the Cox Plate? Just yourself.
Very hard to go past Pride of Jenny, although I would take the trifecta, Gelding, of... let me see, you've questioned without notice. I'd take a box trifecta of Pride of Jenny, Mr. Brightside, and Evaporate.
Oh, all the Valley form.
All the Valley form, Gelding. So they're my thoughts. But I think Pride of Jenny on her day, especially in weather like this, the rail in the true position, I think she might ask, I said to you in the warm-up, Gelding, she might ask too many questions of those horses today.
Yep. Catch me if you can.
Yeah, I think so, Gelding. All right, so the very successful parlay is back, Gelding.
Well done, Professor.
Yeah, we actually got it right. Pride of Jenny came second in the King Charles, the third. beaten 3/4 of a length. Probably should have won. For all the reasons we spoke about before. And the Bills annihilated the Titans 34-10, and the Commanders absolutely obliterated the Panthers 40-7. So those games turned out how I thought. So we're back to 43%, Gelding, 18 from 42.
Yeah,
so we're moving up in the world.
Hopefully we can improve it this week.
Yes, Gelding. All right, so our agreed bet of the day today, and it could be any one of those four, Gelding. The racing is so good at Moonee Valley today. Any one of those four horses that we've picked today could be the bet of the day. But after a little bit of careful thought about it, we thought race 2, horse 5, Ikasara. We're going for Gay Waterhouse and Adrian Bott there. And let's parlay that into the Detroit Lions playing at home to beat the Tennessee Titans. Who would have thought that an anchor leg of a parlay would have Detroit Lions in for the NFL, Gelding? The laughing stock for many years, but by crikey, they're first in the NFC at the moment. They haven't they've put 1 foot wrong. 5 from 6. Average 20 points in defence. They've got the second best defence in the NFC, Gelding. So opponents are only scoring 20 usually. Their offense is scoring 30. So a 30-20 div, you'd like that most times, wouldn't you, in most games?
Certainly would, Professor.
The Tennessee Titans having a bad season, Gelding. They've traded one of their best receivers during the week. 14th in the AFC. They've only won 1 game this season. They're 14th in offense, only 17 points average per game. So when you're going into a game where the opposition usually scores 30 and you usually score 17, how many times are you going to win that game, Gelding?
Yeah, exactly, Professor.
The bookies don't like them either, Gelding. 11.5 is the line, so in excess of a converted touchdown and a field goal.
Could be a bit interesting, Professor.
Yes, Gelding, and we'll parlay that into the Baltimore Ravens playing at home to beat the Cleveland Browns. Baltimore Ravens flying in the AFC, Gelding. They've won 5 from 7. They're first in the offense in the NFL, scoring 31 points average per game. Cleveland Browns, I think this is the season to forget, Gelding. 15th out of 16, won 1 game. They're 13th in scoring 15 points a game, Gelding. The line's 8.5. The bookies don't like them either, so it's in excess of a converted touchdown. So the parlay today, race 2, horse 5, Ikasara into the Detroit Lions to beat the Tennessee Titans, into the Baltimore Ravens to beat the Cleveland Browns.
I like it, Professor, and welcome back. We're a bit stiff. We didn't get both Professors' parlays last week, as we said before, but good to see you back in form with the tipping of the NFL, Professor.
Yeah, I think those two will be pretty good in this round as well, Gelding. Well, that's all for That's Racing this week. We've got a very big week coming up soon,
yes.
Gelding.
Yeah, Professor. I do apologise for this noise in the background, Professor. But,
can't hear it, Gelding, so
that's good.
It's not coming through, so we're lucky.
That's good. Anything coming up in the week, Professor, that we should tell listeners about?
Well, a horse that you and I have more than a passing interest in, Savvy Rocker, will be running at Ballarat or Bendigo?
Bendigo.
At Bendigo.
Yes, on Bendigo Cup Day, Professor, on Wednesday.
Oh, well, that's a good time to have a race, isn't it?
Yeah, so, it should be very interesting.
Yes, and Gelding, the following week, Flemington.
Yes.
The Cup Carnival.
Cup week.
We might be doing four shows. I've yet to discuss that with you, but we should give thought to doing 4 shows. We did last year.
I see no reason why we shouldn't, Professor.
Yeah.
We'll break through for the 200th show.
Next Saturday is the 200th show, Gelding, so that's a milestone, isn't it?
You'd be preferring the banner, will you, Professor? Or?
Well, we'll have to run through something, won't we, Gelding?
We will indeed.
All right, until
maybe it should be a lobster down somewhere.
All right, Gelding, until next Saturday in our 200th show, it's good luck.
And good punting.